model zeg maar min of meer hier getekend. Hier moet je nog lijntjes tussen verzinnen. En de eerste opdracht.
What is going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new crypto TV episode. In today's video, we'll be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XLM to BTC. Hopefully you guys like that intro. As you guys know, I like to do little intro vlogs about my morning leading up to this video. Well, today I did something different. I had a buddy of mine named Mike, who I actually met through YouTube. He's a pretty cool kid. He's from Leeuwarden, Netherlands, if I am correct. He is also a college student in strategical communication, and he decided to send in to me a video of his morning in the Netherlands, and I thought it was absolutely like fantastic and wild. I've never seen such a thing, all those bikes. It's a little bit different than from what we usually do on our US trip to college or wherever it is you guys are from. So it was pretty cool. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that cool little intro. But otherwise, hopefully you guys saw my community post that I did this morning showing you guys XLM. So I do just want to talk about the current coin market cap and then look at XLM2 as well as technical analysis on Litecoin and Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then I wanted to show you guys a flashback from like 3 or 4 weeks ago of what I did call out to you guys about XLM and the price moving down and the market to follow that too. So that'll be interesting too. I do want to flash to that in a couple of minutes, but otherwise let's move on to the market cap, Litecoin, and so on. So current coin market cap now is $104 billion. We see a 24-hour volume of 17.3 and a Bitcoin dominance of 55.1. So obviously Bitcoin dominance has moved up since yesterday. Yesterday we were at 54.7, now it's 55.1. So we're in increasing dominance. You can see 24-hour volume is actually much higher than it was yesterday too, by $3 to $4 billion, that increase. And then we see market cap of 104 billion. So we've seen a massive drop in the market cap and the amount of money that was moving in and out of the exchanges. So we can see Bitcoin is rising in term, or not even rising. Bitcoin is falling less than altcoins, and then we see altcoins falling more than Bitcoin. That is why we're seeing an increased volume. Unfortunately, volume can go either way, leaving or entering the market. This is leaving, and that's why we're basing this off of the market cap being much lower. I believe almost 30 billion lower than yesterday. So to scroll down, you can see, guys, that the top 10 cryptos, a couple of things have changed. Number one, we see Bitcoin SV now in the number 7th place, which is quite interesting, seemingly up since yesterday, while the whole market is down double digits, which is wild. Bitcoin SV is up. Bitcoin SV took number 7th place, and I do believe Litecoin was number 7 a couple of days ago. You know, Litecoin is still top 10, but it definitely fell quite a bit. You can see Bitcoin is down by 9.5%, almost 10%, down to $3,300. You can see XRP down 9.7 at 29 cents, and you can see like Stellar's down 14%, Bitcoin Cash down 12. Bitcoin SV and Tether are the only ones that are up, and somehow Tether is now in number 5 spot, which is absolutely phenomenal comparing this to a couple of years ago where Tether was. So definitely pretty cool on their part. A lot of people did say that Tether was somehow intertwined with Bitcoin in terms of manipulating the market, using Tether to manipulate the market. That is definitely news for another video, but we do see Litecoin now down 15% at $23, and I do want to discuss that with you guys because that is definitely an interesting mark. So I do want to point out XLM to you guys, and then I want to flash to a video of prior times. You can see XLM is doing something very interesting. We're looking at XLM on the weekly, and as you can see back down in all the way in November 12th, you can see the date. We were discussing XLM. A friend of mine decided to ask me about XLM, and I decided to look at it, and I said it would be quite important because the charts on the weekly show a very telltale sign, and we've been tracking XLM almost every other day, you know, ever since. So it's been almost a month, about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and we've been tracking this, and you can see we started here, and what has happened is we hit a support. We hit a resistance at the top band on our Elliott wave, and you can see we based a resistance, huge resistance, and fell, and we called a 5.2 touch. You can see we fell down to here. Now, I do want to flash to the previous episode back around 3 weeks ago where we called this, and I wanted to show you guys what I was referencing back then and how it actually happened now because of this symmetrical triangle that formed. So let's flash forward, or let's flash back to that right now. A coin I want to talk about. on the weekly right now, so we're in a very wide perspective. You have to keep that in note. When we look at the weekly, each candle is 1 week in terms of price, so it's represented by 1 week. And what I wanted to talk about is something that I use called the Elliott Wave Triangle. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. If you aren't, I'm going to do a brief review really quick. So the Elliott Wave Triangle, I have Google pulled up, Google Images. This is what the Elliott Wave Triangle looks like in terms of stocks and investments. So we do like to use these stock, inspired theories or movements. Basically, a theorist developed this, an enthusiast of stocks, whatever you want to call it, and he basically drew out something. We'll discuss that in a second. That he found patterns that could potentially be traced. He's seen them in history, they do form, and he's basically showing you the potential that we're seeing. So I do want to just move back on. You can see how it basically, we have a bottom, we have a top, then it starts down to a 1, a 2, a 3, which he's basically drawing in right here. We have a 4 at the top, and then a 5, and then he's showing a correction back upwards. So you can see on Stellar, to draw that in, if I just have this pulled up, which is the Elliott wave, we're going to start here. We shot up similar to the Elliott wave here. We shot up here and then we start going down. So if we start up at the top and then we go down, you can see this becomes 0.1, similar to that graph. We have a 0.2 up at the top here. We have a 0.3 right here. We have a 4 right here. We have a 5, a future 5 coming in slowly right here. So that is definitely something I wanted to reference. You can see, though, a lot of people say, oh, why didn't you move 3 over here? Why is it over here? Well, to point out on this graph here, you can see 1 is here, but there's also 1 right over here. So it really doesn't matter as long as it's in that general region. You can see that's what I'm referencing here. As long as it's in that general region, it doesn't really matter. I can move it over here. It's the same thing. But the fact that we're, for number 4, just earlier today, actually, I was looking at XLM in class, and I noticed that we were at the top, the 4 top, and we were still this green candle. We weren't really seeing much movement downwards, but interesting to note, as I zoom in, you can see we are starting to correct downwards, which is what's in play. So you can notice that we are starting to move down. There is some sort of downtrend forming on Stellar. That is very strong because we are looking at the weekly, and as you guys know, lines on the weekly are much stronger than they are on the daily, the 4-hour. And as you move down, they get less weak. They get more weak. So this is a very strong downtrend, and you can see we are at 0.4. You can see we are correcting back down, and truly, if my assumption is correct, my assumption holds true, we should potentially move down all the way down to number 5, which is at 0.000, whatever that is, Bitcoin, pretty low. So we will see a lot less volume, or a lot more volume, come in and push the coin all the way down to 5. Now, this isn't a bad thing. I definitely don't recommend buying into XLM at this moment, because this is pretty much, if I was to invest into XLM, I would not buy in at that level. I would wait to buy in at 5. And honestly, if I was super conservative, I'd wait to see what happens with 5. I'd wait to see if we start to move up or if we just break bearish from there and fall. But if the Elliott wave holds true and we see this pattern right here, XLM should hit 5, retest our resistance, and break through. So a good buying opportunity is buying at 5 and selling it when we retest this resistance, and then holding off and waiting. Wait till we see what happens at this line up here. If we break bullish, obviously buy in the run and then trace it up, see when we become oversold in terms of the weekly or the daily, and then sell off up here. Otherwise, if you buy in at 5 and you wait it could potentially correct back down. So that's why this is definitely a good selling point. This number 5 is definitely a good buying point. And now to just All right, hopefully you guys liked that quick little flashback that we had. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about what I was referencing. We were expecting to see that pull back down to 5. That is exactly what happens. And now we're kind of looking for a movement back upwards, potentially. You know, I'd be very shocked if we fell lower. There is potential for that to happen, being we're only 45 on the relative strength index, but I do plan on us to, you know, bounce up off and move up higher. And how this plays a role in the rest of the market is we're going to, you know, test whether or not we're going to move up quite a bit now. We did bottom out now. This is the 1, 2, 3 points of support contact on this bottom support line. You know, we are setting higher lows and we are setting lower. We're setting higher lows and we are setting lower highs. So now we're, you know, potentially going to see some sort of movement. You know, everybody would look forward to some sort of movement like this. It is very possible. You could even cut these lines off right here and then expect a movement upwards. So what I was referencing compared to the video that I just showed you in the flashback, we could move this, you know, like this, and it would look decently a lot like the video that I showed you. You know, it could do something like this. This is very possible. And then we could see a potential, you know, movement like this in this Elliott wave. So it is something that we should all pay attention to, look at. It is very possible. I know a lot of you guys probably aren't anticipating a run-up in any sort of way, a correction in any sort of way, but it'll be quite interesting to see. So another thing to point out on XLM is the fact that it is touching bottom and it is starting to retrace up, and I do think the market is most definitely following XLM's pattern, or the market is moving down and XLM shows the market movement the best. And the fact that we just bottomed out on the support, you can see in previous times right here, and right here. Now that we have bottomed up, in my opinion, what I'm going to do is buy in at these levels, very small amount, enough that I feel comfortable with, because I do anticipate a movement upwards, even a slight correction at best. We did bottom out 3 times, you know, after a giant movement down to here. You can see not many people were planning on buying back in and expecting a run all the way to 2, but it happened. Neither did people buying in at 2 expect a pullback down to 3. It did, and then you saw the massive correction upwards. So we're going to see most definitely a smaller correction now looking forward into the next couple of weeks. From 0.5, I do anticipate a movement all the way up. You know, we could, you know, most definitely touch, you know, this top resistance. It is very possible, but a move from here all the way back up is more than likely going to happen. So it is something that I see as a very good time to invest in and make money. I don't think it is, you know, I've talked about before smaller buying opportunities, and I think they were very difficult to judge when to buy. You know, there was some risk involved. Truly, I think this is a very, very, very stable investment right now. I think it's less risky. I am almost guaranteeing that it moves up. Now, again, I am no financial advisor at best, so this is only for educational purposes, and I'm only telling you guys what I am going to do. So as for what you guys do, it is totally up to you. Just use it. Take this information with a grain of salt. I personally plan on investing down here and riding this wave up, and if not, selling right around halfway once we move up into the middle. If it does, you know, break up, I could, you know, buy in now, and then we could fall lower. It is definitely very possible. But from my, you know, time and experience within this market, it is something that I think could play out fairly nice. Again, there's always that possible downside that I could invest in here and then we fall much lower. It is possible. That is something you have to risk. You know, that's what I'm really trying to stress to you guys, that I'm only giving you my opinion, what I am valuing in terms of where the movement is going to be. So what you do with your money is solely based on what you do. I am not responsible at all for your financial investments, but I'm just giving you my opinion on that. And I do want to stress that a lot of it is in every description. Moving on, though, to Litecoin. So why I'm talking so strongly about that is because I do think that is a really good buying opportunity. And I also see Litecoin, you know, probably going to head up soon, too, due to the fact that we are extremely oversold on its daily. You know, we broke below our white band. We broke below our yellow band that we drew as the support. Do I think we're going to fall lower? No. I'd be very shocked if we did. And if we did, I'd only see us falling to around $19, which is still extremely low. Charlie Lee did say $20 Litecoin is expected. That is exactly what happened. So it is very possible that we see a $20 Litecoin hit, then we start to move back upwards. It is very possible. After a giant downtrend here, you know, when there's blood in the market, that is when you want to buy crypto. That is when you want to buy coins. So definitely think about that when you invest. I do think it is oversold. It is most definitely going to pull back up. I'd be shocked if we fell lower. I believe we're also oversold now on the weekly for Litecoin, so these are definitely good. Yeah, we just entered oversold here. You can see exactly what's happening. We're literally just following the downtrend down. You can see on the, we broke our support right here and whoop, did not mean for that to happen. It is slightly laggy when I screen record, but you can see what I'm referring to. We were using this as a resistance. We finally broke across, and now we're falling down lower, using it as a support. Exactly what is happening. I do think we're going to start to move up though, because you can see we're pretty much hitting a support here. Yes, you can see Wix over here has shown that we have fell lower. We've retraced up and closed the weekly on here, so we have about 2 more days to see what exactly is going to happen, but I don't think we're going to go much lower than that, and I do think we're going to start to retrace back up fairly soon, starting an accumulation, if not a bull run sort of phase. I don't think we're going to go lower because of what XLM is showing, and I think that has proven itself, showing you guys its previous video and today. You can see Bitcoin is also now extremely oversold on its daily, so these are all really good buying opportunities in my personal opinion. You can see that it is also falling quite low. You can see if it does decide to go lower, $3,000, $3,050, it's going to be its rock bottom. Truly, that I value this market to be. I'd be very shocked if we just go straight to zero. That pretty much shocked the whole market, and I don't think it will ever go to zero, unless, crypto is so completely dead, which I really don't think so. It's been around since 2009. It's had money in it. It's had a market, with so much more mainstream involved. I don't think it's going to go much lower. $3,000 is what I'm calling rock bottom. It's basically resetting itself. I had a talk with a guy named Futuristic Hub. He has a pretty big channel. It's a really cool channel, actually. We were just talking about it, buddy. And he also referred to this potentially being the bottom around here, 2,700, 2,800. So that's pretty cool, though, that we did have that discussion. And he also thinks that we could go this low. So think about that, too, when you're investing. And lastly, Ethereum is also breaking pretty low, too. You can see it's falling out lower. I know some people have invested in Ethereum, and I can most definitely draw this support right here. I don't think we're going to fall much lower than that, though. I'm trying to slowly move us out. Yeah, you can see what... Whoop. I hate how this is so laggy when I'm on screen, when I'm screen recording. But yeah, you can see where the price is currently. You can see that the red band, I could just draw that on for us really quick. You can see right around here, it's finding the bottom of these supports. You can see we had tested support right here. We broke up using it as a resistance. We broke through it, and then we fell using it as a support right here. So that is currently what the market is kind of playing out on. Again, I'd be shocked if we had much lower. We are extremely oversold, the most oversold compared to all the other cryptos on the market. So I don't think it's going to go much lower, but truly bringing it back to XLM, what I really want to discuss. We've now had a third point of contact, and I think we're going to head higher up. I do think we're going to, consolidate into this point right here, and then we're going to make some sort of move, but there is money to be made in the short term on XLM, or in a couple of weeks on XLM. But otherwise, it's going to sum up today's video for... that's going to sum up the video for today, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content and want to see more. Giveaway at 10K, so make sure to share this video on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Steam it, whatever it is that you have. I do greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.